Hey everybody, welcome to Vision One Media Artist Shoutout. My name is Ella Beth. I'm your host today, and I am really excited. I know I say that every week, but I'm really excited to talk with this artist today. She's an artist who I've been following since just a little bit before Christmas, when Instagram just brought up a show that she was doing, and I clicked on her profile and I just thought, this woman has a voice. She can sing, she performs, she can write a badass song, and she's here in the studio with me. So excited. So without further ado, welcome KELS.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said yes. I'm glad that we kind of pulled it together kind of on the fly like this.
That's how I like to do everything.
Actually, you know what? Me too. Get up on stage. Do you know this song? Sure, let's do it. Yeah.
Takes away the expectation.
Absolutely. And I feel like it takes away the expectations and the bar can only be raised, you know?
Yeah. I kind of like, oh, what am I doing tomorrow? I don't know.
Yeah. I love that. So I would love to hear a little bit. I mean, you told me a little bit of your story, but I would love to hear, or for you also to tell the audience, how you came to Atlanta, first of all, and how you got your start in music.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a roundabout way, but I've always had music in my life. My dad is a singer as well. He wasn't formally pursuing it as a career or anything, but he always sang my whole childhood. And my parents were actually divorced from a very young age. I was traveling a lot back and forth to see both of them. And that's actually how me and my dad bonded, was like singing in the car a lot and doing those sorts of things. So, I mean, it was always kind of in my house, anywhere from like classical Italian opera to like Stevie Nicks to Brandy Carlisle, like everything. There was a really wide range of styles. But how I came to Atlanta was I'm originally from Pittsburgh,
right?
And it's a really close-knit community, but it's also pretty small in terms of a music scene. So I really wanted to challenge myself to come to a bigger city. But I still do Pittsburgh shows because I love it there, and those are my people. But
like your hometown, your home stages.
But Atlanta just has such a diverse music scene, and there's such a strong sense of industry here in terms of creatives and people that you can network with. So I really tried to kind of build my base in Pittsburgh and my foundation in Pittsburgh, and then I came here. So, and it's been only good things since I've moved.
Right. So you've only been in Atlanta for about a year, which is about the same as I. And you said that there's a really good sense of industry here. How do you find the Atlanta music scene, being an artist who's more jazz and soul than, like, say, rap and hip hop?
I think it honestly fits even better than I imagined, because Atlanta has a lot of jam sessions and it has a lot of talent that just likes to sit in and collaborate. Yeah. And it happens very naturally in bars, and the musicians that play are, session musicians for touring people, and like you never know who you're sitting in with. And a lot of them know, a lot of the old soul music that I'll play or a lot of the jazz that I'll play. So it honestly fits perfectly, where I think other cities you have to go to specific bars for jazz or for pop or for rock.
Right.
You could go to an open mic here and hear soul, R&B, jazz, hip-hop, and it's just awesome.
Cool.
Because we all kind of feed off of each other.
Right. I feel you there with that kind of, especially with, like you said, the session musicians in town. It is that easy as just jumping up on stage, and people will just click into a groove, and it's like, oh, I feel so comfortable. I feel so safe with these people.
Yeah. The crowds are just so interactive.
Yes.
I feel like, and I've been touring a little bit on and off in 2022, and then I'm about to go on tour, but Atlanta crowds are just, they allow you to feel their energy, if that makes sense. Whereas there may be some crowds, I'm not going to call any cities out, where you don't necessarily know if they love it or hate it until kind of like after you're done and they come up to you.
Right.
Because maybe culturally, like, showing it isn't necessarily a part of, like how people show that they like something. Yeah.
Do you feel like it's like that, depending on whether it's a smaller city or a bigger city, or do you think it just depends on the culture?
No, I think it depends on the region.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And I've actually, now that I've played a few different types of cities. Like I've talked to other musicians about that and they kind of feel the same way.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's just some cities that'll like turn up with you on stage, and there's some cities that like they may completely love it, but they're not gonna like show it as much.
That's interesting. Well, at least having talked to other touring musicians and them speaking of their experience, at least you know it's not you. You know, it's definitely a them thing in regards to the audience.
Hey, I don't blame anybody. You experience music however you want.
True, absolutely.
It's not good or bad. I'm just giving my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where have you played here since you've been in Atlanta?
So I did a few showcases at Eddie's Attic because they have a very strong singer-songwriter scene, and my music, I'm fortunate enough to be able to kind of tailor it to whatever setting I'm in. I could do it at like a singer-songwriter night, but I could also do it at, you know, like a jazz night or an R&B night. So Eddie's Attic is a really... I actually have a show coming up in the summer there on June 18th, a headlining show. So I'm really excited about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so I'll be there. But then as well, Smith's Olde Bar, I just played in January, and that was my number one venue that I really wanted to like get my foot in the door. When I moved here, I just felt like, you know, I need to do a show there, and I need to do well, and then maybe that'll create some buzz, because I also do open mics and things like that. I love the open mic at Cat's Cafe. If you've been there,
I haven't been there yet, but I've heard that it's really fantastic.
You never know what's gonna happen.
Okay.
And that's kind of the point. Like, it's just awesome. So yeah, other than those three, those are like my 3 main venues, and I try to see shows wherever as much as I can.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
Yeah.
So in regards to your songwriting, which you touched on, what has been the best lesson that you've learned since beginning your songwriting journey? I read on your little bio on your website that you've been writing since you're about 13.
Yeah.
So what has been like the biggest lesson or the best lesson that you've learned in your songwriting journey so far? Because that's different to, you know, your performing journey or just your vocal journey.
I'm so glad I just recently updated my bio.
Oh, it's recently? Okay.
But I would say just in the beginning, it is all about quantity. Like, you have to write 100 songs you don't like to get to the song that's going to propel you forward. Whereas like before, when I would songwrite, especially like really in the beginning, even when I was 13, I would just kind of wait for an idea to come to me. And it's not really like that. Like, you have to, at least for me, because I know everybody's different, but like set aside hours of the day to write, you know, a number of songs, and then go back, edit, decide if any of that can be used. If not, it's also fine.
Right.
You know,
right.
Ed Sheeran did an interview where he was like, you have to get all the shit out. I'm sorry, can I cuss on you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you have to get all of that out to get to, you know, the meat of what you're feeling.
Absolutely.
What you're trying to express, what melodies you're really trying to get to when you're writing all these shitty songs, like, for lack of a better word. And I think I just had to like take ego out of it, and like it's hard to listen to songs that are never going to see the light of day, and songs that you don't actually think sound good, but you have to keep writing. And again, this is just for me, but you have to keep writing to get to the song that really clicks.
Okay.
So that took a really long time to figure out. I would say in like the last year and a half, I really like held myself to that standard. And like, if you think about it, athletes put in hours every day.
Right.
Whereas, you know, I think it's the same for songwriting. It's a muscle.
Yeah.
Creativity is also a muscle. Like, if you're not using it, you could lose it. So
yeah.
But there's also a healthy balance between like experiencing life and writing. I think sometimes I get caught up in like, I'm in writing mode, so like I'm not going to go out and do anything. But then like when I go out and do something, sometimes it inspires.
Right, it gives you something to write about.
Yeah.
So would you say that you've like honed that process more through the years? Like, do you feel like it doesn't mean that you won't write perhaps like 10 mediocre songs and then write one really good one, but do you feel like you've honed that process and you know yourself, you know your songwriting muscle per se better?
I think so. And I think you can only learn by doing. So I don't, regret all the years that I wasn't doing it that way. I thought that was the way that felt good and felt right. I think before it would be, writing is really like a therapy for me. So like if anything bad ever happened or if I felt like I needed to say something, that's kind of when I would write, which is good. But then sometimes you tend to write about the same thing. So
right.
When you're writing like actively every day, or try to write at least every single day, it kind of challenges you. To open up to different parts of yourself, I would say.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So what about within that, you go and you were saying that you take your music to different venues and different open mic nights, and you feel lucky because your music can translate to different places. How do you go about like getting your music to the musicians? If you get up on stage, you just turn around and tell them like, guys, it's a three chord thing, and this is the, like, how does that work?
So the only place that I really have to do that, like the Eddie's Attic showcases, I'm coming with a guitarist that I met in Atlanta, and I kind of worked with him on my songs, and that's been really fun, and because we can collaborate in that sense and turn them kind of into a new song, even though there's a recorded version.
Yep.
But with open mics, sometimes if I know the chords of my song are a different song, I'll just be like, play this, but play it this way.
Right.
And I'm going to sing over it.
Yes.
And I do that.
Yeah.
And it works every time.
That's really excellent.
Music theory is not my forte. I'm a practical musician.
Absolutely. I think, but there's something to be said to being a singer, like being a vocalist. There's something to be said with being able to direct a band, even if it is, with rudimentary, just like play it in this style. I want to have this like beat.
Yeah.
But if the musicians, musicians who are session musicians will be able to pick up what you're trying to explain to them.
That's why I love Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's just a city full of very talented musicians.
Yeah.
And artists, obviously.
So who would you say has been what's been the high point of your Atlanta musical journey so far?
Selling out Smith's Olde Bar. I was not expecting. I've only been here for 1 year. So I lived in Pittsburgh. I mean, there's no real direct comparison because I now have a lot of music out and I have like a bigger social media presence than I did in Pittsburgh. But just to like have that feeling after Smith's was my first headlining show. So to have kind of the city embrace it so well was great. I mean, I was out campaigning at the Beltline. I was like handing out flyers.
Oh, wow.
I love that. Yeah. So I was like this sounds awful. But I wasn't expecting to sell out, but I wanted to.
Right. Absolutely.
And I was like,
of course.
Shit, we sold out before the doors even opened. So
that's so cool.
Yeah. They had to turn people away, which... Sorry to anybody that showed up.
No, you know what? Sorry, but not sorry.
Yeah, that was a high point. Just because it was my first big show. And I know in Pittsburgh, it just took me like a really long time to get to a point where I could have done that. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you are about to go on tour. Can you tell me a little bit about that? How did that come about? Where are you going? Who are you going with?
Me, myself, and I.
Okay.
I'm driving basically the southern region of the U.S. and most of my family is in Texas and Oklahoma. So I'll always have somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
But I'm hitting like Houston, Austin, Dallas, Oklahoma City, Tulsa. I have a few shows in Austin and a few shows in Oklahoma City. So it's over the span of about 6 weeks.
Okay.
And
that's so exciting.
I'm planning to do like a different region every few months of the year. I really want to focus because last year I really spent a lot of time just releasing music.
Right.
So I have like a pretty
catalog.
Yeah. So I'm writing a lot, but I also really want to not let those songs die, kind of promote them through a tour. And a lot of the shows are through So Far Sounds, if you're familiar.
Yeah, I know So Far.
So they've been really great in that. I booked in Atlanta So Far in October, and they've just really helped me connect with the local regions, like in other regions of the U.S. So I'm going to do a Southern tour, and then later in the year I'll do a Northeast, then I'll do a West Coast, and then I'll do a Midwest. So I'm doing it all by myself. I organize it all by myself. And yeah, it's going to be crazy.
That's incredible. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
kudos to you. It's tough being an independent artist. I mean, it's tough being an artist in the industry. You know, it's always a challenge, but that's really awesome that you're pushing it. And I've absolutely no doubt that somewhere along the line between the touring and the recording and the writing, someone's going to go, sis, you need to be on like a huge stage. I really believe that for you. I don't know. Some people just have like a thing, and
Thank you. Yeah.
So
that's the goal.
yes, and I love that for you. I'm like, you know what? Let's go higher than that. We've got like Grammy performances in the future. Like, let's go. Come on.
You
manifest,
said it. You
manifest.
said it, not me.
I've never been much of a big manifester, but this year I made myself a vision board, and I was
That's
like, okay.
awesome.
So one of the things is I want to get 120 podcast episodes out, and I really want to interview David Ryan Harris on this show because he lives here in Atlanta now, and I'm a big fan. He also played at Smith's, I think, beginning of this year.
Come on down, David.
Yeah, right, David. So yeah, but do you write, like, are you all constantly writing, or do you sort of like give times to?
I really try to like write almost every single day.
Okay.
Even when I don't feel like it, because that was a really big thing before, is like I'd be like, oh well, I'll just wait for the inspiration to hit me.
Yeah.
For what I want to do, which is obviously just for me, what success looks like is just performing my music, putting out music that I love and value, and music that resonates with people. That's all I want to do.
Yes.
For my whole life. So like if I want to do that, then I need a lot of songs. So
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't think it makes sense to just kind of go through cycles, which is kind of what I was doing before. Because then it's hard to get back into it.
Right.
And then you don't trust your ideas as much, I feel, whenever you come back into writing after you've like taken a little bit of time.
Right.
To
There's
not
a little
write.
bit more like that imposter syndrome. Like, am I
is this
actually
even
a good writer?
good?
Is anyone going to like this?
Yeah, and then it just doesn't
feel
feel
you.
as natural. And I also recently have come to the conclusion that I need to be bored more often.
Interesting.
Because like I've realized that like when I was little, like when I was a kid, I had to go to after school a lot because my mom was a single mom. So I had to go to after school programming a lot because she wouldn't get off till like 6 or 7 o'clock. And I remember that's really when I started like singing, humming, just random melodies, was because I was bored.
Yeah.
And I feel like creativity really comes out when you're bored. Like think about, we don't even let ourselves get bored. We are we're always on
Always on
if we're
screens,
not doing, if someone's not right in front of us, and even sometimes when someone is right in front of our face, like we're on our phone, we don't let there be kind of like a dull moment. People aren't like okay with just doing nothing. And I know I'm not okay with doing nothing. So I'm trying to learn how to do that.
Yeah. How to just give yourself space
And I
to
feel a
breathe.
lot more creative when I kind of make time to do nothing.
Okay. Yeah.
So
That's I'm
trying to get it down to a science.
I feel like I'm kind of similar to you. Often what I think are my greatest songwriting ideas will happen when I'm either on the treadmill running really fast or when I'm in the shower, and it's like neither of those times are super conducive to like, oh, where's a pen and paper, or like where's my phone so I can hum this in there, you know.
A lot of people also write songs on the toilet because there's nothing else to do.
That's interesting. I've never heard that, but I totally believe that.
No, I've heard that quite a few times from artists. Yeah.
Really? That is so interesting.
I don't even know if I have. I forget. I have written a lot of songs in the bath.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just a slippery slope because I don't want to get water in my phone, but I'm like, this is too good. This is too good. I just need to leave it like recording the whole
hanging
time.
over the side of the bathtub, right? Like,
No, yeah.
Girl, I feel
Wiping my fingertips on the shower curtain. Even though I know it's not going to do shit. Like, yeah, all of that.
I feel
Imagine it.
That is so funny. Yeah, no, I think that's really important what you say, and I think that's really important for especially younger musicians to hear, because like us as millennials, we grew up as the internet grew up, but musicians under us, in the age group under us, they have the access to the most incredible things now that the internet and technology has advanced. But also I think you're very right, like young people probably also find it really easy to just spend hours and hours on TikTok. Like I can
filling their
sometimes do
head
that
with, you know,
with other people's creativity.
Yes.
And that can be inspiring, but I think there comes a point where it can almost become like demoralizing.
Has
it's
to
like,
be a
look
limit,
at
I
these
would
people,
say.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything. It's like, well, you're not doing anything because you're
On TikTok.
scrolling your phone. Like, it's just this cycle.
Yeah, it is. And I'm a really big believer in like whatever you're listening to music-wise, like it will influence your musical ideas. So like I really try to pay attention to like what I listen to as well, if I can.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah,
I was
I'm not like
listening
in
to
a restaurant and like, turn this off. This isn't good music.
Yeah. when you're right, when you've got some control. I was listening to PJ Morton this morning when he does
my favorite.
the live session where Yeba and he do How Deep Is Your Love, and I was
So
like
good.
sitting there and I was listening to it and I was doing some work on the computer and I was like, oh, I want to write like this is how I want to write. And I think it's really true. You are inspired by, or at least influenced by, if not on a conscious level, an unconscious level, by what you're listening to.
Yeah.
So,
have you heard his live piano album on YouTube? He does a similar thing where he'll like invite different singers. It's so good. You should check it out. He's one of my favorite artists for sure.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Yeah, I really only started listening to him since I've been in America. And Yeba, I mean, Yeba is just a beast. Like,
she's insane. She's such an inspiration.
I don't even think, I'm like, that's not human what she can do. It's incredible.
Her voice is like an instrument.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I find myself more so now in my sort of like later 20s, I've really appreciated listening to singers who don't only just sing, but who use their voice as an instrument. Because it is, we're really blessed. We have so much that we can do.
Yeah. And it kind of opens you up to different music if you're able to do both.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think having that jazz influence for you, and I know for me, listening to so much jazz, it definitely gave my brain a little bit of a way to like play around more than I used to as a young person, like really
kind of get new melodies that are not traditional, I would say.
Yeah.
Kind of dance around the melody instead of just staying on the line.
There's something actually, not to sound like a super fan, but that I was listening to Closer by You this morning when I was working out, and right at the end of the track, there's like a sequence that you sing, and it's like da na 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 na.
Never crossed my mind, you were right on time, tell me, did you know?
I was going back, I was like pressing the 10 seconds back, I was like, that's just so cool. I really, really love that kind of thing.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yeah, I mean, I started as a jazz musician. I don't think I really touched on that when you asked me how I started in music. It was really my dad, like, who got me my start in terms of giving me a vocal ability. And, playing all this good music around me. But I started, I had voice lessons starting at 13 because I realized, and my parents realized, like, if you're going to do it, like, let's do it right.
Properly,
yeah. And so he kind of told me, my first voice teacher, Robert Fire, he told me that I had to pick a genre because I had already I'd done the opera stuff. I'd sung in multiple languages, and he's like, okay, like, this is the foundation. Once you master this, like, we need to hone in on a genre. Like, what is going to be your genre? And I found jazz because I was actually at Starbucks with my mom.
Yeah.
And not that I hadn't listened to jazz before, but I was at Starbucks and a Sarah Vaughan CD and also an Ella Fitzgerald CD was there. Yeah. And so bought both of those CDs, and I realized, like, once I started listening and singing these songs, I was like, this is it.
This is the one.
This is where my voice fits. And so I sang in a lot of jazz ensembles growing up and through college. And then after college is obviously when I realized I wanted to write my own stuff, because jazz is very, you sing the American Songbook. You can obviously sing it the way you want. Right. But you can only do so many songs. Right. And I think, I don't know. I went to a school that was very like, if you didn't sing musical theater, like, you weren't a singer, and like my voice just never fit in that. But like, people knew that I could sing, so it was always very weird because I would never get like the part or like the solo and like things like that.
I'm like literally listening to your story. I'm like, it's me. Like,
but it would be like, okay, but I'm just singing music that's not. Doesn't resonate with me at all. I never resonated with that type of music. And also my voice, like, I never felt like myself when I was singing that stuff. So it was hard when I was younger because, like, how you see in the movies and stuff, it's really real. Like, you get the list of people that get the roles, and like you're not on the list, and people go to the show and they're like, well, you can sing, why don't you have a part? And it's like,
right, it's like I know, and thank you. I know, I've worked really hard at this,
like,
but
you
I'm
think
not what they
that's the
want.
biggest thing in the world, but it's not.
Yeah.
So by my senior year of high school, I had dropped out of the musical because they didn't cast me, because they did a jazz. They actually did do a Roaring 20s like jazz musical, and they didn't cast me for anything. So I dropped out. I wrote a letter to them. Yeah. And I got first chair on the state jazz choir, and I did that instead. And I was like, you know what?
Period.
Like, I think by the time I was a senior in high school, I kind of realized, like, I'm just singing the wrong music. It's not me. I'm just singing the wrong music.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Really, truly, honestly, like everything. I'm just like, me too. And I remember when I left my hometown in Australia, I was a little bit like disillusioned with music, because I also had a similar experience where I'd done like a lot of jazz band and stage band things, and I was like, yeah, this is what I love. And I'd also been in musical theater, and I also didn't often get, I mean, I would like ensemble, but I wasn't getting cast, and I was like, why isn't this happening for me? I know I have the talent and I have the drive, like I really want it. Why isn't it happening? And it just, what you're right. Like, I think
it's
I
like
didn't
fitting a square peg in a round hole or whatever.
Literally, yeah.
I think that's the same. Or a round in a square hole. I don't know.
Whatever shape our holes are, they just weren't fitting whatever anyone else's was. And you know what?
Find your hole.
That's right. And if you don't find one that you can fit into, make
Move
one.
on.
You know, like, yeah, I feel that. I definitely feel that.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of similar influences, both in singing stylistically and writing wise. I haven't asked many guests this, but I would love to ask you if you could share a playbill with 3 other artists. I feel like 4 artists is good for a nice show. Let's go dead or alive.
Okay.
Who would they be?
Brandy Carlisle.
Okay, yeah. Love a
so
queen.
Much. Okay.
She's just a wonderful person, and everything she does for like the music community as a whole, I'm like, yes,
I've
queen.
been listening to her since before I knew what the hell she was talking about, because it would go over my 8-year-old head, but I knew that it was resonating with me. Yeah. Just because she sings with such an emotion in her voice, and that's what I try to do too, because that's just how I feel it. But definitely Amy Winehouse.
Yes.
Jasmine Sullivan.
Yes.
She's so amazing. And then I guess I get one more.
Yeah.
Maybe it should be a dude.
Doesn't have to be. It could be a...
I'm just trying to mix up the bill. No, I won't. Yabba.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, cool. I love that. Yeah. I would absolutely, I'd be front row in that show. Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I'm going to change my last artist to Aretha Franklin.
Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, she really was the queen, and she paved the way
me so much
in so many areas of like what we do now. She really, really did. Like, she walked so we could run. I feel for artists who sort of cross genres in regards to soul and jazz and blue-eyed soul and neo-jazz. You know, like Aretha really did an incredible thing for us. I'm sure all the other artists...
her tone is unmatched with anybody, you know.
Yeah.
Someone who can belt for that long in a song and it not feel harsh or tiring or...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's like an art to that. But still, I love you, Yeva.
Yeah. Yes,
I forgot.
Yeah. So what would you say, how did you sort of develop your story? Because you were saying like the way that Aretha sort of tells the story in her voice, and you mentioned another artist earlier. Brandy Carlisle. How would you say that you developed your own story within your voice and your performance?
I think it's always been there. I think it just needed to come out in the public performance. Mm-hmm. Like always by myself, I'm able to kind of share that because it's a very vulnerable thing to like get to that point, I would say, where you can truly display all of your emotions with your vocal coloring that you do.
Yeah.
And I was always able to do it in private, but I think getting comfortable enough on stage to the point where like you let go to allow that. It just took time. But I mean, it's always been in me growing up. And that's why I kind of knew I was different.
Yeah.
Because I never wanted to just sing what was on the page, and I always wanted to sing it how I felt it, and that didn't go over very well in choir. I was kicked out of third grade choir.
You're not doing it right. Well, I am. It's just not your right. Like, whatever.
And not to say that there's not obviously a time and place to like strictly learn the music on the page. Obviously, I had to do all of that. I just mean, I think I always knew that I experienced my vocals and using my vocals, I felt like I needed to use them differently than some people. I don't know.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like, in third grade, I have it's not quite the same. I have this vivid memory. I should probably say it on stage more often during my shows because I think it's really funny. I have this vivid memory of being about in third grade as well. So maybe like 8 years old and driving in the car with my parents. And my dad was also, my mom and dad both sing. We were listening to a CD and I remember vividly telling them to turn the CD in the car down. I was like, I can't hear myself and I want to sing it my way.
Awesome.
And I don't know if that's what the moment when they were like,
okay.
Oh,
She's a diva.
We've got something different on our hands. It's like, listen, it's not a great song, but I want to be able to like hear myself sing it.
That's not a normal. Maybe the other kids would say turn the music up, but
yeah, right.
Watch me do this.
Yeah, right. Now watch me sing you the song my way. So funny.
That's great.
So outside of music, you also are a businesswoman.
Yes.
So tell me about your real estate and your Airbnb. I think that's so interesting and super cool.
Yeah. Well, me and my girlfriend, we started it in 2020. Like the day that the COVID announcement hit was actually like the first day we had listed our first Airbnb. So
totally like
randomly.
Oh,
like
wow.
In January of 2020, we were kind of toying around with the idea, and somebody that she grew up with was already doing it. So we kind of like learned a lot from him, and then that hit. That announcement hit, and 2020 was rough, but we like just had that one unit, and then we grew it from there, and we're now 3 years in, and it's a way for me to be able to do music and also
pay the bills,
do it from anywhere, because we have a network in the city, and I can just open an app on my phone and communicate with guests, but also do all of my rehearsals and my writing sessions. So we kind of built it from the ground up. And it's interesting because I think it helps me a lot with understanding the business side of music now that I run my own business. So I think that does give me an advantage as well. Yeah.
That is interesting because I know that there's a lot of artists out there who don't have so much of the the information or the knowledge to do the business side of things. Someone could be the most talented person in the world, but if you don't have an understanding of the business side of things, the entertainment industry can be, rough and tough and challenging.
It's so hard to view your art as a product.
Yeah,
and it's hard to view yourself
as
a product. It's so easy to kind of think about it if it's just a piece of property or a physical thing, but music is not a physical thing, so it's just hard.
And how have you sort of like grown to not to treat yourself, but to treat your art form and you as a brand? How have you grown that business wise from being solely a performer?
It does take a lot of time. I don't think it can happen without kind of consistently releasing music and consistently gaining an audience so that you really understand your audience. I think that's the biggest thing, is like figure out who fucks with you and don't alienate them. Kind of like find more people like them and kind of bring them on the bandwagon. And then it won't always be like, go listen to my song. It's like, no, these people like naturally resonate with what I write and how I sound. And it's kind of more effortless once you have the core group of people. So it's really about, I think, understanding your audience. Just like in a business, you'd have to like understand your clientele or your customers or something like that. Yeah. And now I'm really just working on the monetization side of that. So going on tour. I'm working on merch right now with a graphic designer.
Cool. So we can expect that later this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also just putting more music out, I would say, is just so important because you never know what song is going to reach the right person at the right time.
Right, right. And so when you're on tour, will you also be like releasing stuff, or are you going to kind of focus on one thing?
I'm going to do a few releases for this year just because I have to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like I can live without performing, and I don't feel like I can live without releasing music, but I'm definitely not going to do as much as last year. Last year, I kind of just focused on the releasing, and this year, I want to kind of take a different angle. So there will be a few.
Yeah.
But very few.
Okay, cool. So is there anything like immediately in the works, or is it kind of...
Nothing I can like say
right now
for sure. I mean, the demos are all done, you know.
Okay.
But getting the demo to like the point where it's recording ready, not even just vocally, but like what do I really want this to feel like that's the process we're in right now.
Okay.
So I don't want to put a timestamp on that.
That's okay. That's
but
cool.
I'm also like, it's going to be the third month of the year soon.
I know. I literally was talking to Val about that earlier. I was like, we're halfway through February. Like,
no, that's insane.
And we need to do some stuff. We need to like keep moving, you know, keep the momentum.
So yeah, I try to act like, you know, like there's no time limit, but like there is. There's a fire under my butt.
Yeah. Okay, good. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
So you'll be on tour. You've got some music coming out. For our listeners who are like in Atlanta and in the Georgia area, do you have any upcoming shows in the next couple of months? So you said you had your June 18?
Yeah, so that'll be my next big Atlanta show because I will have this new music to show. So it's June 18th at 6 p.m. And yeah, it's on Eddie's Attics. It's on their website, but it's also on my website and in the link in my bio on Instagram. So
awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
I'm definitely going to play my new stuff there.
Okay, cool. Well, that's 2 days before my birthday.
Really?
So I'm going to tell my husband that we need to go on a date and you're going to serenade me.
Just, send me a message. We'll get you a birthday seat.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, cool. Yeah. Lastly, before we wrap up, can you tell our followers, and you can speak to this one over here, but can you just let them know where to find you on Instagram, YouTube, social media, everywhere?
Yeah, sure. So my handle on Instagram is @findingkels_, and that's the same username I have on TikTok, findingkels_. My YouTube channel is just Kels Music Channel. And then my website is findingkels.com.
Awesome. Fantastic. Yep. Well, go and find KELS because you want to listen to this lady and her music, her vocals. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come and chat with me. I'm really honestly so honored, like truly a little bit of a fangirl. I don't say that often about my artists. So thank you for coming through.
Thank you so much. It was so fun.
It was awesome to chat with you. And if you are an artist in Atlanta or Georgia or even further afar or abroad and you'd like to come and be a guest on the podcast, please drop us a message at Vision One Media ATL on Instagram, or you can find us on YouTube or Facebook, Vision One Media ATL, and we would love to hear from you. You can always also email us at visiononesocial@gmail.com. And if you'd like to come and be a guest on the show, let us know. I would love to get in contact with you, and we can do this for you and talk about your music and your journey. So thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you.
You've been a wonderful guest.
Thank you.
And we'll see you all next time. Peace.